What's up, people? Welcome back to Daily Red Devil for all of your latest Manchester United transfer news and talk. I hope everyone is doing well on this Friday morning. It is the weekend. Manchester United do play Tottenham tomorrow. I'm absolutely buzzing for that game. But before that, we have got a massive show to bring you guys this morning. So please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. And let's jump straight on into it. So on the show this morning, we're going to be talking about a potential new striker coming into Manchester United. We've had a couple of really interesting stories ultimately telling us the remaining players that Erik ten Hag wants to sign in this transfer window. We're also going to be talking a little bit about Benjamin Pavard. We've got a bit of an update on that one. We're going to be talking about the Donny van der Beek situation. We're also going to be talking about a player whose contract looks set to be terminated, which I think some of you will agree with, some of you might not, but we'll talk about that in a minute. So let's jump straight on into it. And as always, please do get involved in the comment section. I try and make it as interactive as possible, so do get involved. Right, let's start off with the striker one then. So we've had two different journalists come out in the last 10 or so hours. The first one is saying the following: Erik ten Hag still wants a striker and a holding midfielder with ball playing ability. He also wants a centre-back, but with Harry Maguire likely to stay, the centre-back signing looks very unlikely. So let's just forget about Harry Maguire for a minute, because we've spoke about him so much, and I don't want to bore myself with Harry Maguire anymore. So the story that this journalist who writes for The Guardian in the UK is ultimately saying he wants a striker and a holding midfielder, so more of a defensive midfielder with ball playing ability. So we can easily identify who that holding midfielder is. It could be Gravenberch, it could be Amrabat, it could be I guess those are the top two targets realistically, aren't there? And then the other one is that he still wants a striker. Now, that's one journalist's thoughts, okay? And then we've had another journalist come out this morning as well saying, Manchester United are now working on bringing in a new forward. Erik ten Hag is pushing for this signing. They've been offered a few players, but haven't been able to move for any yet. So we will be talking a little bit about who we think is going to be this new striker signing. We all know we need a new striker. Every single one of you in the chat, I would assume, would agree with me that we need a new striker. Some might even argue that we need a new striker over a holding midfielder. The only striker we have is Rasmus Højlund. He's the only out-and-out striker, and he's injured. Hopefully he's back soon, though. We did see a little clip go up on his Instagram yesterday of him training with the rest of the squad, and he put the caption as soon. So hopefully Rasmus Højlund's back in the next couple of games, but regardless of whether he's back or not, we still need another striker. I think we can all agree on that. Now, I wanted to do this part of the section where we're going to make it interactive. We're going to get you guys' opinions, and we're going to run through a few of the most likely options, I think, in the centre position, in the striker position. And we're also going to look at their stats, and we're going to try and do a bit of a deep dive into it to try and identify who us, the fans, think is the most logical option. So the three players that I've identified as the most logical, easiest options to do would be Taremi from Porto, Marcus Leonardo from Santos, and Mohamed Kudus from Ajax. Right, so we'll start with Taremi then, because I think let's start with him. So last season, Taremi got 22 goals and 8 assists in 33 matches in the Portuguese league. So that's 30 goals in all 30 goals in 33 matches. Really, really good stats. Now, I'm sure you're all saying, that's the Portuguese league. It's not very good. But if you flip that over to the Champions League, he played 7 times in the Champions League. He got 5 goals and 2 assists. He's 30 years of age. Very, very experienced player. Obviously played for Iran at the World Cup. I think he scored a couple of goals against England. He's available for somewhere around 20 million euros, which is what, about 16 million pounds? Something around that kind of mark. 17 million pounds. 30 years of age. Of course, he is a stopgap option. He's not someone who's going to be here for the next 10, 20 years, obviously. He's going to be here for probably 2, maybe 3 seasons. But I think he would be a solid option. So that's option number 1. So keep that one in your mind. The second option we're going to look at is Marcus Leonardo. Now, he is the complete opposite of Taremi. Marcus Leonardo, 20 years of age, obviously playing his football in the Brazilian league for Santos at the moment. Had a really, really good season last year, and he's had a really good season so far in the Brazilian league. So far this season, he's played 13 matches. He's got 7 goals and 2 assists. So he's got 9 goals and assists in 13 matches. And then in the Brazilian Cup, the Copa de Brazil, he's got 3 goals in 4 games. So he's had a really, really solid start to the season. Now, one interesting thing about this player, Marcus Leonardo, is his father spoke to the press yesterday, which maybe is a little bit of a red flag, just to say from the off. Let's be fair here. We've had plenty of players at this club whose family members come out and speak, and it never really ends very well. But let me just bring it to you anyway. So Marcus Leonardo's father was asked yesterday about about his player, about his son, and he said, "My son has struggled mentally in recent weeks. He recovered and is now back to training with Santos, but Santos did not maintain their promise to sell him. So it does look like Marcus Leonardo is actively trying to push his way out of Santos. Obviously, someone with heaps of talent, only 20 years of age, already in the Brazilian under-20 squad. Looks like a really, really good player and somebody who I do think will be... I won't go as far as saying he's going to be world class, but I think he's definitely going to be good enough to come and be a backup striker at Manchester United. So that's option number 2. Keep in mind all of these people. Now, the third option is Mohamed Kudus. A bit of background info on Mohamed Kudus. Brighton agreed a €40 million deal for Mohamed Kudus, but couldn't then agree personal terms. West Ham are also speaking to Ajax about this potential deal. So there are other clubs interested in him. But we do believe he'd be available for somewhere around €40 million, which is about 30 to 35 million pounds, let's say. Now, obviously, he's played under Erik ten Hag before at Ajax, so they know what to expect of each other. Last season in the Eredivisie, he got 11 goals and 4 assists in 30 matches. So he averaged a goal or an assist every other game. But it's worth noting with Mohamed Kudus, he can play in multiple different positions. He can play as an attacking midfielder, a centre forward, and a right winger. So he's not an out-and-out striker, whereas Taremi and Marcus Leonardo are both out-and-out strikers. They are your kind of typical centre forward. They're exactly what we need, really. They play as strikers, and that's it. Whereas Mohamed Kudus is a bit more versatile. And he got 4 goals and 2 assists in 6 matches in the Champions League last season. So he had a really good season last year. And I think for €40 million, he would be a good deal. Whether Ajax would be willing to sell him to Manchester United for €40 million is another question. They obviously agreed a deal with Brighton at that price, but if they got €100 million off us for Anthony, I'm sure they're going to see us come in and say, well, we want €80 million for him. So that is something to consider. Now, I wanted to ask everybody in this community, who do you think would be the best and most likely option? Who do you think this player that Manchester United are apparently interested in is? Do you think it's Taremi? Do you think it's Mohamed Kudus? Do you think it's Marcus Leonardo? Which of those 3 would you think is the most likely option to come to Manchester United this summer? And who would you like to see as well? Who would be your preferred option? I'm probably going with... I would do it in this order. I would say Taremi, just because he guarantees you goals and he's got that experience. I'd go Taremi, then Marcus Leonardo, and then Mohamed Kudus as the third option. The reasons for that are purely because the other 2 are out-and-out strikers. I like Mohamed Kudus. I really do. Maybe Erik ten Hag wants the versatility, but I think we really, really need an actual striker. We've got plenty of players who can play on the left, play on the right, play in the striker position at a push, you know? We need an out-and-out goal scorer. So for me, I don't think Mohamed Kudus will be the best option because he isn't an out-and-out striker. He's an attacking midfielder, a right winger, a centre forward. He can play in lots of positions, whereas Taremi and Marcus Leonardo are strikers. They're goal scorers. They're going to come into the team and they will guarantee you goals. But I want you to let me know in the comments section who is your preferred option in the striker position. Do you think we will go for another striker, or do you think it's just going to be Mason Greenwood will come back? The thing I want you to consider, though, with Mason Greenwood, all right, whatever your stance is on it, whatever your opinion is, that's up for you. That's up to you to decide. I'm not going to sit here and preach and try and, that's just not what I'm going to do. So the thing you have to consider with Mason Greenwood is he's not going to be able to start playing immediately. Okay, so if you do want him back at Manchester United, he's going to take time to be able to be in a position to be able to actually start games. So you do have to remember that. But he probably is going to come back. We've spoke about him many times before. We will speak a little bit about him later on in the show, but I am conscious that every show will just get completely eaten up by Mason Greenwood, and I just think you end up going around in circles with Mason Greenwood talk. So let's leave that until later on in the show. But yeah, let me know in the comment section who would be your preferred option in the striker position. I don't think we can rely on Anthony Martial. I know he's back from injury now, but how long is he going to stay fit for? Obviously, I hope Anthony Martial has a great season. I hope he gets us loads of goals this year. I hope it's his best ever season for Manchester United. But in reality, do we think he's even going to start against Tottenham on Saturday? I'm not sure. My starting positions would be for Saturday would be Rashford on the left, Anthony Martial down the middle, and Sancho on the right. That would be my preferred starting attackers for the game on Saturday. But whether that will happen or not, I probably doubt it. I doubt Martial's ready to play a game in the Premier League. But let's hope he is, and let's hope that he comes, and let's hope that he scores, because we're desperately in need of somebody to come and bring us goals. You know, that was the biggest learning curve from that game against Wolves. We're still struggling to score goals. We're really struggling in in the attacking areas, and our midfield obviously wasn't great either. But yeah, let me know in the comment section what you think about that one, and let's move on to the next story. So let's talk about Donny van de Beek a little bit. Now, there's a story coming out. There was a story last night, and now there's another story this morning saying that apparently Donny van de Beek's move to Real Sociedad has broken down. So it doesn't look like Donny's going to go to Real Sociedad. I don't know what this means for him. I don't know where he's going to end up now. Maybe he goes to Ajax. Maybe he goes somewhere else. We'll have to wait and see. It is frustrating, isn't it? It is. Like, I swear we've been negotiating with Real Sociedad for what feels like the whole transfer window. We've all known since probably a month ago that, you know, it looked like his most likely option was going to be Real Sociedad. But now that seems to have gone very, very quiet. And what does that then mean for the Amrabat deal? It is frustrating, it is, because I know how many of you want Amrabat. First of all, we were told we need to sell Fred. We sell Fred, and now we need to sell Donny as well. It's a bit like we're having the carrot dangled in front of us, but maybe it's just a little bit unrealistic, you know? Yeah, so it looks like Donny won't be going to Real Sociedad. We'll keep you updated on where he ends up going. My guess now is that he'll probably end up staying at Manchester United. The only way I see him leaving now is if maybe in the last couple of weeks of the window, somebody gets injured. Maybe someone in the Premier League has a really bad injury, a midfielder, and they need someone desperately. Maybe they come in for a loan move for Donny van de Beek. Stuff like that does happen, but at the moment there doesn't really seem to be any major interest in him. Obviously Real Sociedad seemed to be the only club who was really chasing his signature. So I don't know, let me know what you think about this one in the comment section. Do you think it's a complete disaster if Donny van de Beek stays, or do you think maybe he should, you know, get a chance in the first team? Some of you, some of you in the comment section will probably be saying to me, I'd prefer Donny van de Beek over Mason Mount. I would not be surprised at all if some of you at home are thinking that. Which is obviously fine. That's your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. But do let me know what you think about the Donny van de Beek situation. So just to be clear on this one, Fabrizio Romano has said that apparently there are no talks going on between Donny van de Beek and Ajax. He says there are already negotiations ongoing with other clubs at this stage, but there is no agreement yet with Real Sociedad. So I don't know. I'm not sure what to think of this one. I really don't. And like, I just hope we get a little bit more information about this, because it's doing my head in. It really is. Like, I just want to know what's going on with him. I want to know that he's going to go and, you know, reignite his career, because yeah. And then the story coming out from Alfredo Padula today, which is the Italian journalist, is saying Manchester United expect to complete the signing of Sofian Amrabat if either Scott McTominay or Donny van de Beek leave. So they've set the expectations now. Either Scott McTominay or Donny has to go in order for us to buy Amrabat. I feel, do you know what? I'm just going to say this now. I feel like the goalposts keep getting moved. I really do. We've sold Fred for 15 million euros, including add-ons, right? We've just sold Matic Kovar for 9 million euros, including add-ons. So what's that? 24 million euros? We've just got 24 million euros thereabouts in the bank. Amrabat's 30 million euros. Why do we need to go and sell Scott McTominay, who's probably going to be, what, a 35, 40 million pound player, in order to buy someone who we already have the money for? That's the bit that I'm not understanding. And that's the bit that I think we really need clarifying, because money has come in since we last spent money. We've sold 2 or 3 players since we bought Rasmus Højlund. That should be enough to now go and spend 30 million euros on Amrabat. So I don't really see why the goalposts keep getting moved, and you know, we're now being told we need to sell Scott McTominay. Like, I just don't understand that, and it really is, yeah, it's really confusing me. Now, let's talk a little bit about Erik ten Hag. There's a little bit of this is coming out from that same journalist, Jack Talbot, who is he writes for The Guardian in the UK, and he is saying the following. Where is he? Okay, so he's saying Manchester United didn't think they'd have to pay anywhere near 75 million euros for Rasmus Højlund. Erik ten Hag planned Højlund as a versatile attacker rather than someone who would be leading his line with Champions League football this season. I mean, it's not good, is it? He hasn't even kicked a ball, and there's already people coming out saying that apparently Manchester United didn't think they'd have to spend the amount of money they spent on Rasmus Højlund. I mean, all of us were saying that same thing, so, like, it just makes you think, doesn't it? Why did they spend that amount of money on him if they didn't think they'd have to spend that amount of money on him? It's not like they were being forced to do it, is it? There was obviously other options available. And if that now means that we can't buy the players in the other positions we need because they're admitting that we've overspent it on players who maybe aren't worth the amount it just doesn't make any sense. And he goes on to say that Erik ten Hag didn't expect to be solely relying on a 20-year-old who has only scored 10 goals last season and is yet to develop. As good or as world-class as Rasmus Højlund may come, Ten Hag did not want that risk. So what did Ten Hag want? Did he want Kane? Did he want Osimhen? You know, that's the bit that I'm really struggling with here. Like, they've spent this massive amount of money now, and obviously Rasmus Højlund, I think, is going to be a success. I'm excited about him and all the rest of it, but we knew we needed 2 midfielders, a centre-back, 2 strikers. So why have we gone and spent all of this money on one player who's only 20 years of age and we're being told needs to be slowly worked into the team, needs to be given time and all the rest of it? Like, I get all of that, but that's the kind of the signing that Manchester City can do, where they only buy one player in a window and they slowly bring him into the team. Like, as Ralf Rangnick said, we need open heart surgery. We still do. So, I mean, that's the only bit that's frustrated me about this window. I know people were saying Murta madness, you know, we've been making moves in the transfer window and all the rest of it, but I don't really feel that way. I think Onana was an incredible signing. I think that was some of the best business we've done in the last 10 years. Genuinely, £43 million was it? Onana will completely transform our team. Incredible signing. But Mason Mount for 55 million plus add-ons, I think that's not an amazing signing. Rasmus Højlund, if he goes on to be the player that we're hoping he will, it will work out as a good signing. But at this moment in time, with our budget restraints, with all this financial fair play stuff that we're being told, which I think is rubbish, maybe it is a little bit too much money. But let me know what you think about this one in the comment section, everybody. Let me know how you feel about the transfer business so far. Do you think we've overpaid for players? Do you think that because we spent so much money on Højlund, Mount, it's now not, you know, it's made us not able to spend the money in the areas we need? Because it has, hasn't it? We're having to scrape around the back of the sofa to get the money together for Sophie and Amrabat, which is, of course, really, really frustrating. It is. We've got over 1,000 people watching now, which is absolutely massive. Big ups to everybody in the community. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel if you are new. We're 20 subscribers away from 13,600. So do go and subscribe if you haven't already. And let's crack on with the rest of the show. Right. Let's talk a bit about Benjamin Pavard. So this is another player who I think has caused a bit of mixed emotions amongst the fan base. Some of you really, really want him. Some of you don't. So just to give you a bit of an update on Benjamin Pavard, Inter Milan have officially submitted a 30 million euros bid for Benjamin Pavard to Bayern Munich. 30 million euros is about 25 million pounds. Okay? Now, my question to you is, if we had have sold Maguire and we paid off his 7 million, whatever it was in wages, right? We could have got Pavard. Just to be clear, the bid hasn't been accepted yet. But yeah, 30 million euros bid has gone in from Inter. And they're saying that apparently, this is coming out from Florian Pletterberg, who's obviously a Sky Sports journalist in Germany. He's saying that Bayern are demanding more than 40 million euros for Benjamin Pavard. So 40 million euros is about 35 million pounds. How does everybody feel about that? Do you think that we've missed out on this? Do you think we should have gone in for him? Because if you look at it in plain terms, we would have sold Maguire for 30. He wanted 7 million pounds to leave the club, so we would have been left with 23 million pounds. Best case scenario, right, from the Maguire sale. And it would have cost us 35 million pounds to go and get Benjamin Pavard. So it would have been an extra 12 million pounds that we had to find, which we clearly don't have. So I think when you actually break down this deal with the Maguire situation, I can see why there's this story coming out saying that ultimately Manchester United felt they couldn't find a replacement for the amount of money that was available, because Benjamin Pavard was the number one option. And we would have still had to have found an extra 12 million from the Maguire sale in order to go and get Benjamin Pavard over the line. So I'm not sure what to think about this one. Let me know in the comment section. Are you disappointed about this? It does look like he will be going to it looks like he will be going to Inter Milan. I'm not that bothered. I'm just praying. I'm praying that somebody comes in for Harry Maguire in the last couple of weeks of the window and he goes. Obviously, at the moment, the deal to West Ham is completely broken down, so that doesn't look like it will happen. But we definitely should have got rid of him when we had the chance. If anybody who's a regular on this show, do you remember that video, right? Probably about a week or so ago, when whilst we were live, we had a bid for McTominay go in and a bid for Maguire. That was one of the best live streams I've ever done. It was so positive. Everyone was so happy. And to think that we've messed up both of those deals, both Maguire and McTominay look like they're going to stay. Like, I just don't understand. That could have been 60 million pounds in the bank to go and spend on another player. Very, very frustrating. But yeah, it is what it is now, isn't it? We've just got to move on. We've got to get on with it. Just to be clear, I'm upset that we didn't sell Maguire, but I'm not that upset that we missed out on Benjamin Pavard. Like, I think he's a good player, but there's much better players out there, I think. But let me know how you feel about that one. Are you annoyed that it looks like Inter Milan will get this deal over the line? And there is a little bit of a story coming out from L'Equipe in France, which is really, really interesting, actually. So they're saying that Erik ten Hag convinced Benjamin Pavard on a move to Manchester United by guaranteeing the player a starting role at centre-back. How does everybody feel about that? I'm not sure about that. So L'Equipe are ultimately reporting that Benjamin Pavard would have started at centre-back, I assume ahead of Varane, because, you know, they both play as right-sided centre-back. Who would you start? Let me know in the comment section. Benjamin Pavard or Raphael Varane? Let me know below. I mean, it's got to be for Varane for me. It has to be. Like, I wouldn't be starting Benjamin Pavard. But maybe you know, at the end of the day, Erik ten Hag knows more about football in Manchester United than I do. But let me know in the comment section. Would you have started Benjamin Pavard or what's he called? Yeah. Right, let's move on to the next story, though. Let's keep things moving. There's a little bit of a side note as well, quickly, on Harry Maguire. Now, obviously, we had this story coming out saying that that apparently Harry Maguire is wanted by Erik ten Hag at Manchester United, which I thought was a load of rubbish. I really, really did. Like, why would he want him at Manchester United? He's the 5th choice centre-back. He's taken the captaincy off him. He's on 200 grand a week. On what world, in what world does Erik ten Hag actually want to keep Harry Maguire? He clearly doesn't. So there's a story coming out again from this same journalist, Jack Talbot, who writes for The Guardian, saying, despite recent reports, Erik ten Hag does not want Harry Maguire and he doesn't fit his philosophy. You know what? Erik ten Hag he says one thing, doesn't he? And he means another thing. He said he wanted to keep Ronaldo and he didn't. He said he wanted to keep David De Gea, he didn't. I just don't see any world in which Harry Maguire is wanted by Erik ten Hag. And it is interesting that this journalist for The Guardian has come out with that story this morning, just saying that it's rubbish. He doesn't want him. I don't know. It's strange. I don't know why Manchester United is showing so much respect to Harry Maguire. I really don't. I get it. He's our player and he's got a contract and all the rest of it. But they should have just given him his money, said, here you go, Harry. Thank you. Goodbye. And it just been done, you know? It does confuse me, it really does, and I don't think we're going to get a better offer for him at any point now. Voice of Reason says, maybe we'll play 3 at the back. Yeah, I mean, a lot of you in the chat have been saying, I really, really think we should do 3 at the back, like a 3-5-2. I mean, I'd be into that, I would. I think he did play 3-5-2 at Ajax, didn't he? Let me just double check that. I'm pretty sure he played 3-5-2. Yeah, he did. Yeah, so at Ajax, he either played a 4-2-3-1, a 4-3-3, or a 3-5-2. Let me just have a look at how it lined up. Oh, wow. At Ajax, he even played a 2-3-5. So he had De Ligt and Blind as the 2 centre-backs, and then he had a midfield 3 of De Jong, Veltman and Scon, and then he had 5 attackers. He had Tagliafico, Neres, Tadic, Ziyech, and Donny van der Beek. So that is crazy. I would love to see that. I would love to see us play more attacking style football because, yeah, 2-3-5 though, that's mad. 8 players pretty much up front and 2 defenders. I'm just looking at a graph where you can see how it breaks down. So yeah, he played a 3-5-2 quite a lot. He played a 2-3-5. He played all sorts of attacking formations. So maybe that was why he wanted Benjamin Pavard. Maybe he was going to have 3 centre-backs and then he was going to push Luke Shaw and Delo or Wan-Bissaka further up the pitch as more inverted wing-backs. We know that he wanted Jeremy Frimpong, didn't we? And Jeremy Frimpong would be absolutely perfect to that system. You know what? I'm gonna be very honest here. I think we're another season away from actually seeing Erik ten Hag ball. I think this season is going to be a little bit of a learning curve again. I think it takes time. It does. It really, really does. When you look at the team that started on Monday, yeah, the only players that he'd brought in himself were Anthony, Mason Mount, and Onana. Out of 11 people, the other 8 were already there. He hasn't had a chance to actually build his team yet. When you think of Pep's team now, every single one of Pep's players are people that he's kind of picked or he's selected from the youth academy. Do you see what I mean? It's going to take 2 or 3 years, I think, for him to actually have a starting 11 that resembles what he actually wants. Obviously, Lisandro Martinez as well. But yeah, let me know what you think about that one. How many years do you think it will be before we actually see Erik ten Hag playing the kind of football we're all expecting from him? Because after that first game against Wolves, that's not Erik ten Hag ball. It wasn't, was it? It was 50-50 possession. They had more shots than us. I wouldn't say we dominated them in the slightest. If anything, they dominated us. And Erik ten Hag's traditional style is dominating football. Yeah, so let me know what you think about that one. How many signings do you think it will be until we see Erik ten Hag ball? Because I guess a lot of you probably have never actually even seen Erik ten Hag ball, other than maybe in the Champions League against Tottenham. But yeah, it was very attacking, very high possession, very dominating. So quite a few of you in the chat are saying we should get Jeremy Frimpong. Yeah, I think Jeremy Frimpong would be good. I think Jeremy Frimpong would be really good. And just to be very, very clear, right? I 110% think Erik ten Hag is the right man for Manchester United. If anything, I'm giving him a bit of slack here. I'm cutting him slack because it's going to take time. It will take time for him to get his tactics across to them. It's not going to happen overnight. We had one season last year where we played very defensive, very pragmatic football in order to get the job done. He obviously identified that with the players he had, after not being trained properly for 2-3 years under Ollie, it was going to take a long time to get them into a position where they can actually play the type of football he wants, right? So he went back to the typical, more defensive, more pragmatic 4-2-3-1. Whereas this season, that was my only expectation for this season. It was, I thought we should get top 4, but all I wanted to see this year was more attacking football and more goals. Those are the two most important things for me. They are, as a football fan. Obviously, you want to win and all the rest of it, but do you really want the type of football where every single game it's like so boring to watch and you just about scrape a 1-0 win? Or would you rather seeing free-flowing, attacking football? Yes, you might lose the odd game, but 90% of the time you go out there, you put on an incredible performance and it's enjoyable to watch. That's what Manchester United has always been about. It's been free-flowing, attacking football, lots of goals, and I do think we're a little bit away from seeing that. Fred says, when are we going to discuss Erik ten Hag's tactics or so-called system? I mean, well, we're talking about that now, my friend. We are. And I just said, the type of football we played last year was not Erik ten Hag football. So we can't judge Erik ten Hag on what we saw from him last season. He even said that last season. He said it wasn't like what he wanted to play. That wasn't his type of football. It was defensive. It was pragmatic. It was, at some points, counter-attacking. His usual, at Ajax, it was 70% plus possession. It was... Every single one of our players was in their half when we had the ball, and it was, scoring lots of goals, free flowing. We didn't see that. We haven't seen his tactics yet. Yeah, Erik ten Hag is 100% the man for the job. 1,000% sure. Not a doubt in my mind. And until the owners go, I think he's ultimately being set up to fail anyway. Let's be completely clear here. We've had people like Mourinho, we've had Louis van Gaal, we've had all of these great managers, and if they're not backed properly, if they don't get the right people in for the right amounts of money, they're fighting an uphill battle. They are, So let's just give Erik ten Hag our full support, because I see a few people getting frustrated with him. Matt says we can't judge Erik ten Hag until the club gets sold. Yeah, I agree. He's starting on an unlevel playing field. He is. When you see, even Newcastle, I don't know, has anybody in the chat watched the Newcastle Amazon Prime documentary? Go and watch that later on tonight if you haven't seen it already. Go and watch how Newcastle run their club versus how we run our club. Honestly, I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. It was inspirational. It was. And I can see why Newcastle are turning into the side that they are. Go and watch that Amazon Prime documentary that just came out. I think there's one episode so far about Newcastle United, obviously with their new owners and all the rest of it. And it's completely changed everything. The mentality, it's amazing. Big ups to Dang Sham, who is a member for 1 month. Legend. Hope you're doing well, my friend. Right, so Hendrik says, United need to get Kudus or Taremi plus Amrabat. Our right back is something to consider in future now. Is Fernandes going to be sold? Okay, let's talk about Alvaro Fernandes. So it does look like Alvaro Fernandes has been put up for sale. There's a couple of clubs interested in him, mainly Spanish clubs. I'm not sure about selling this guy because I do think he looks really, really solid. Whether or not he'll go, we'll have to wait and see. Manchester United have set an asking price of around 9 million euros for the player. It just shows how desperate we are, isn't it? The fact that we're having to sell off our young youth prospects just to bring in a little bit of cash because we can't get rid of any of the higher earning players. It shows how desperate we are for funds, and it shows how desperate Erik ten Hag's position is, that he has to think, all right, I'm going to sell my best youth players in order to bring in somebody else. Somebody's asking where Kim Min-jae is. Kim Min-jae's at Bayern, my friend. Yeah. Sarandeep says, do you think any new strikers are going to come? Yeah, I do think we're going to get a new striker. I do. I think, right, I think we're going to get a new striker. I think we're going to get Amrabat, and I think we're going to get Gravenberch on loan. Call me deluded, call me whatever you want, but I think that's what's going to happen. So let's look back on this video at the end of the transfer window, and let's see who is right. Everybody get in the comment section. How many signings are we going to make before the end of the transfer window? And we'll all revert back to this video once the transfer window ends, and we'll see who was right. I think we'll get Gravenberch on loan. I think we'll get Amrabat, and I think we'll get a striker. Maybe Taremi, maybe Marcus Leonardo, maybe Mohamed Kudus. One of those three. Because we need to do business. We need to do business. And the thing you have to remember is, right, if we go to what's it called now? The London Stadium? Whatever the Tottenham Stadium's called, right? If we go to Tottenham on Saturday and we lose, Manchester United will spend money. I guarantee it. If we go, I'm not saying I want this to happen, okay? But you know what Manchester United are like. We lose to Brentford. 2 days later, we sign Casemiro and Anthony. But Manchester United are reactionary. They think that they can silence people with signings. Whereas it should be that they're buying the people regardless of what the results are, you know? So I wouldn't be surprised if, hopefully we go on Saturday and we absolutely batter Tottenham. That's what I'm hoping for. You know, I never would want my team to lose. Yeah, as somebody says in the chat, I think we'll only get players if we lose to Spurs. Yeah, that's how Manchester United work. That's how the Glazers work. They'll get out the checkbook. Suddenly financial fair play will disappear. Suddenly all of this red tape that we've been, you know, tiptoeing around for the whole transfer window will be gone. And we'll be bringing in 2-3 players. It will happen. It will. It happens every year. Malp says the Toilet Bowl Stadium. Yeah, let me know how many signings you think we're going to make. People saying that we need to make sales. We have made sales. We just sold Fred. We just sold Matis Kovar. That's 25 million euros. Where's that money gone? Our net spend isn't very much this summer. It really isn't. I did a video on it a couple of days ago. It's about 90 million at this point. It's not much. It's somewhere around there. And when you calculate all of the wages as well, you know, we've let go of about 11 or 12 players, and some of them are on really high wages. David De Gea, 20 million a year. Phil Jones, 100 grand a week. Tuan Zabi. All of these people that you probably didn't even know were at Manchester United anymore. Tellez. There's about 10 or 11 players that have left the club this summer. So a lot of money has been raised in the wage department, which obviously does help with financial fair play massively, you know. Right, let's talk about Eric Bailly really, really quickly. So there's a story coming out. It's on the Manchester Evening News. It's by RMC Sport, which is, I believe, a French outlet. And they are reporting that Manchester United are willing to terminate Eric Bailly's contract. Goes on to say that the Ivorian spent last season on loan at Marseille, and United have listed him as a must-sell player this summer. However, in a bid to try and speed up his exit from the club, Manchester United is said to be considering the idea of terminating his contract. Again, another player that needs to go, another player that we can't seem to get any money for. You see, you know, Manchester City selling people we've never heard of for 20 million plus, yet we're having to terminate a player's contract in order to just get them out of the club. I mean, it's not great, is it? It doesn't really paint a very good image. But if you look at it from a financial perspective, he's on around £5 million a year, which is obviously crazy, crazy money. If he's not going to play, if he's not going to, he hasn't been given a shirt number. What's this story? So there's a story coming out from Business, which has got from Bloomberg. I don't know what this means. All right, so there's a story coming out from Bloomberg in the last 10 minutes. I did see someone putting it in the chat just now, but I wasn't sure if it was true. So apparently Sheikh Jassim's father is about to is considering the sale of 2 luxury homes in London's Knightsbridge and Belgravia with a combined asking price of 370 million. Could this be key to the takeover of Manchester United? I mean, I don't really see how that's key to the takeover of Manchester United. Like, I don't get the relevance of that. If anybody in the chat knows the relevance of this statement from Bloomberg, I mean, how is that even a story? Businessman wants to sell his property in the UK. Does this mean he's going to buy Manchester United? Like, come on, people. Like, come on, guys. We're clutching at straws here. We really, really are. We've got over 1,200 of you watching now, guys. Big ups to everybody. Please do smash a like on the video. Please do subscribe to the channel. We're literally less than 20 away from 13,600, so do get involved. But yeah, let me know if this actually means anything to anybody. I think this is literally just them poking. I still think that the club will be sold, though, just to be clear. I'm just I don't see how the relevance of, you know, Sheikh Jassim's father considering selling one of his flats for 370 million has any link to, you know, the purchase of Manchester United. Like, a little bit strange. Jamie Carragher's just put up an article on the Telegraph for anybody interested, and he's saying Casemiro was a short-term fix for Manchester United. Declan Rice and Moises Caicedo are better buys. More UK press just going against Casemiro. What a surprise. I mean, spending £110 million or whatever it was on Declan Rice. How can you say that that's a good bit of business? I don't think it is. I think it's way too much money, but obviously that's just my opinion. Right, let's read out a couple of your questions. Yeah, I mean, as Fred says, how deep is this barrel? It's absolute rubbish. And I just, like, I don't understand why people are putting two things together. Do you know what I mean? Being like, oh, he's going to sell his flat. That must mean he's buying Manchester United. They've got, I think it was like 300, 400 billion. Like, what's the Qatar? Let me have a look. Right, so their net worth, right? Qatar Wealth Fund, whatever you want to call it, is 475 billion. I don't understand the relevance of him selling one of his flats that's worth 300 million. Like, it's literally a drop in the ocean, isn't it? Yeah, so that's a load of rubbish. Anyway, let's move on. Let's read out a couple of your questions. Do get your questions in if you have a question. Put the letter Q in front of your message. Hendrik says, is there anybody interested in buying Brandon Williams? Brandon Williams has gone very, very quiet. The only team that were interested were Leeds United. That's gone completely silent. Nothing. Nothing whatsoever. I mean, he's 22 years of age. He's played a lot of football for Manchester United. How on earth are we not able to sell him? Like, it does completely baffle me. It really, really does. And I would love to be a fly on the wall in the Manchester United boardrooms and stuff where they're discussing these types of things. Because are they not all sat there screaming like, we need to get people out of the club? Yeah, he's played 47 times in the Premier League. He's played in the Champions League. And we can't sell him. Very strange. What we've got... Bob the Builder says, if it's true, it's a worry. It could mean that Qatar are cutting ties with the UK. Maybe. I don't know. The story said he's considering selling one of his flats. Like, they're literally just fishing. Completely fishing for likes and clicks. Because it's not like he's just sold every bit of business that he has in the UK and it's gone through and it's a confirmed sale. He's saying he's considering selling something. It's like, how is that even a story? It's not even up on the market yet. Like, it's just rubbish. It really, really is. Right, I'll read out a couple more questions before we wrap up the video. Wayne says, what has Carragher got to say about 30-year-old Endo? Is he one for the future? I mean, I'm sure they won't talk about him. They'll probably say that he was the best signing of the summer and all the rest of it. You know, that's just how it goes against Manchester United. They're all just biased, aren't they? Jihan says, do you think McTominay will go before the window closes? I think he will go. Midfield is super important. Yeah, I do still think that Scott McTominay will leave. I do. We just need to wait for Qatar to go to Manchester City. That deal looks like it will happen in the next couple of days, Fabrizio Romano reported. And until that happens, I don't think we'll get any movement on that one. Noel says, what striker should we buy? We already spoke. If you just go back to the beginning, my friend, you'll get all of the... We did a big section on the striker situation. Nigel says, do you think clubs are just waiting for bargains at the end of the window? Yeah, 100%. 100%. I would not be surprised at all if McTominay goes, Brandon Williams goes, Bailly will definitely go. All of these players will definitely go. But it will be towards the end of the window, and then Manchester United will say, there wasn't enough time in the window to buy our number one targets and all the rest of it. Like, I can already picture it coming out. You can already see the story being written somewhere. You know, they're already briefing the people saying, yes, we sold some people at the end, but there wasn't time to get our targets in, or we did, you know, we missed out on our number one targets. It's going to happen, 100%. It always does happen. Jihan says, do you think Maguire staying at Manchester United will destroy his career on both fronts? 100%. There's no way on earth he can be in the England squad next summer if he doesn't play for Manchester United. Andrew says, how can Manchester United have 1-4 to Spurs? Looks like we will win the match. I'm not sure, mate. I don't really do betting and stuff, so I'm not really sure about odds and that. Sarandeep says, with City struggles with injuries and Kovacic playing below par football, do you think 2 to 3 new teams are going to challenge for the league now? I think Arsenal will challenge for the league. I think maybe even Chelsea will. I think Chelsea, with their new midfield, I think Chelsea are going to be a force. I think it's going to be one of the most competitive leagues we've ever had. I might be wrong. Maybe Manchester City will walk it again, but I think it's going to be really, really competitive this season. Joe says, Kieran, what is your view about Amrabat? Do you think Erik ten Hag has a good contact with Amrabat, telling him to wait or something? Yeah, 100%. We know that Amrabat is waiting for Manchester United. He won't wait forever, but he has rejected Juventus. He's rejected Atletico. He's rejected Liverpool, Saudi Arabia. He's rejected multiple different options, probably for very, very lucrative deals, let's call it. So he definitely does have a good relationship with Erik ten Hag. I still think we're going to get him. I tried to not talk about him today because we have spoke about him a lot over the last couple of days, but I do still think we'll get Amrabat for what it's worth. But there isn't any new updates on Amrabat at the moment. Nothing. The only update from yesterday was that Liverpool aren't negotiating for him. Fabrizio Romano has confirmed that Liverpool are looking at other options. So it doesn't look like Amrabat is going to go to Liverpool. That doesn't mean that he won't go to Juventus or Atletico Madrid or to somewhere else. But at the moment, he doesn't look like he's going to go to Liverpool. Fred says, are you thinking of revising your prediction to where we finish in the league this season, Kieran? Well, I think we're going to be battling for top 4. I'll say that. I think we'll battle for top 4. I said that from the beginning. I don't think we'll win the league. We're not going to win the Champions League, and I think we'll battle for top 4. And when I say battle, emphasize the word battle. It will be a real struggle. It might be the last day of the window. We need 3 points, and somebody else needs 3 points, and we win it, and we scrape it just by the barrel. That's what I think our season looks like. Anthony says, how do we get rid of Maguire? I don't know. I have no idea. But yeah, in relation to the person who asked earlier, 3 or 4 teams could win the league this season. Newcastle could win it. Newcastle have done some really, really good business. They have. They've bought some good players. And when you actually look at the squad depth of Newcastle now, they're really solid. But I'm going to wrap the video up here though, guys. I will be back later on today, of course, and if anything breaks during the day, of course, I will go live. Thank you so much to everybody who has watched this morning. Please do smash a like on the video on your way out. Please do subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll catch you guys later. Have a lovely day, morning, or evening, wherever you are in the world. Speak soon.